Hi guys, welcome back. This is going to be kind of a shorter episode because there's not too much new information, but Bryan Kohberger did have a court appearance yesterday. So let's talk a little bit about that and what to expect going forward. As you know, we've been following this case since the beginning and we'll continue to do so. But if you're new and don't know much about this case, you can go back to some of our previous episodes and catch up. So by now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard Bryan Kohberger's preliminary hearing is set for June 26th. He appeared in court yesterday, which was Thursday, January 12th, and he waived his right to a speedy preliminary hearing. It was a pretty quick court appearance, and there is no bail, and now Bryan will remain behind bars for the next 6 months. So that kind of sucks because it's going to take quite a bit of time to get any more information. But the defense filed for discovery, which basically means that they want everything the prosecution has on Bryan. They want all the evidence so that they can build their case and challenge the evidence and try to create some sort of reasonable doubt. So, Lex, I saw something the other day with Brian Enton, and for those of you who don't know, he's a reporter from News Nation. He spoke with Jason Labar, who's a Pennsylvania public defender for Bryan, and he said after reading the affidavit, he thought it was a strong case that had holes that the defense could expose and try to explain away certain evidence that the prosecution has.
Yeah, I found this super interesting because, one, that's a little scary to hear coming from somebody who's in, like, that profession. But also, like, we think about, for example, like, the touch DNA with the knife sheath that the affidavit says that they have that. Bryan's DNA may be on it, but they can't say, like, when he touched it or, like, when that was, you know, that came about.
Because DNA can remain on objects for a while.
Exactly, yeah. So the defense could say that Bryan had the knife or sold the knife or he lost it or, you know, something like that.
Another example was that there was a Vans shoe print found at the scene of the crime. Now, we don't know if police have found the shoes that match that print because search warrant findings in Bryan's apartment are sealed until March 1st. So if they even found a matching Vans shoe, the defense will be sure to try and poke holes in that as well. They could say things like a lot of people have been through that house and a lot of people have those shoes. You know, and it being a party house, many people are in and out all the time. So that print could belong to pretty much anyone.
Right. And that's, like, very true. Vans is a very popular type of shoe.
Especially with college people.
Anybody could have that shoe. Also, I know they mentioned that it looked like a Vans print, but also Converse are... they also the print on the bottom kind of looks like that too. So I wonder if it could be that too. But they're very common shoes, so they can easily say that could have belonged to anybody. I wish in the affidavit they would have said, like, the shoe print was, you know, the size of, like, a male shoe print, or it looked like Bryan's shoe size or something like that.
But they didn't even put anything about the size or anything like that, so we really don't know much information. Right. But someone was actually saying that there was... in, like, a previous police video when cops went to their home for, like, noise complaints, a person who answered the door was wearing a pair of Vans.
Right, exactly.
So that's another way the defense could just, like, poke holes in the whole Vans evidence.
Yeah, you know. I even saw when they were at one point before they had Bryan, when they were emptying some of the things out of the house, they had, like, a bag of shoes, and some of the shoes in there were Vans. Again, they're very common shoes. I have, like, 4 pairs of Vans, so I think that they can definitely try to poke holes in using the shoe thing for sure.
So those are, you know, just like some examples that would create that reasonable doubt.
Yeah. Also, in their request for discovery, Bryan's defense team asked for information about a co-defendant in the case. And that was pretty shocking to definitely both of us and, like, everybody else watching because, you know, the affidavit doesn't have anything about a co-defendant. The police haven't suggested that they believe there's any other suspect or anything like that. But if you remember, when police first arrested Bryan, he had supposedly asked them if anybody else had been arrested too.
Yes,
that was never confirmed, or at least I didn't hear, but that was speculation that he did ask that. So I think it had, like, us thinking and other people thinking, like, did he have an accomplice? Or
was he trying to just, like, throw people?
Yeah, definitely. Or throw police off. Like, this, again, is something he does. Like, he's studying this, so he could just be using it as, you know.
Could just be playing games.
Right, exactly. And I think the defense asking for this information on a co-defendant had a lot of people wondering, you know, why they were asking for it. Was it because Bryan mentioned if anyone else was arrested? Is he, you know, telling his defense team that there's somebody else? Or is this just simply like standard when defense is going up against prosecution? Do they just say these things? Yeah, so it's definitely interesting.
I'm thinking that's probably what it is, but I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. So since all of this has happened, there have been people who knew Bryan or had some sort of interaction with Bryan that have come forward and told media outlets different things about him. Lex, you were telling me about something about a neighbor.
Yeah, a neighbor told CBS News that a few days after the murders occurred, Bryan asked him if he had heard anything about the murder. So he brought it up. And I think he even went on to say that it seemed like they had no leads and seemed like it was a crime of passion. So it's definitely weird to hear him like talking about it.
But a lot of times those types of people, like, they want to talk about it. They want to be involved with the case.
Yes, 100%. They even say, like, sometimes these people revisit the scene or go to memorials because they want to be a part of it.
Which he totally may have done because
he was
supposedly his car, his phone pinged in the area that morning. And then there are some people, there's like a photo floating around the internet where at the vigil, there's a man that looks a lot like Bryan walking around, and some people swear that that's him.
Yeah, and I mean, it very well might be because he didn't, at that point, he wasn't leaving for Pennsylvania yet. He was still, the vigil was pretty early on, and he was still there. So, I mean, I wonder. I wouldn't put it past him, especially if he's talking about it. Like, he clearly isn't trying to, like, completely pull away from it and detach and not talk about it at all. But I also heard that 4 days after the murders, he went to like a doctor's appointment he had scheduled, and he was super friendly with the staff at the doctor's appointment. And the receptionist at the doctor's office even said that her boss called him charming. So I think that's really odd to think about 4 days after the murder.
Ted Bundy was charming.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So, I mean, sociopaths have ways of coming across that way.
Exactly.
I read a girl also came forward and said she had gone on a date with Bryan. I guess they had met on Tinder. And afterwards, he kept trying to, like, touch her, like, rub her shoulders, tickle her, and just kind of made her, like, uncomfortable. And that was when, like, after their date, I guess they went to a movie, and then they went back to her apartment. And she actually said that he kind of almost was pushy and kind of forced his way into her apartment.
Yeah.
And then she just, like, was uncomfortable the whole time, and she eventually got out of that situation by pretending to throw up. So, she was on TikTok saying, her experience with him. And then also others have said that Bryan, and this has been out, I think, a little while, but people have said that Bryan was very bullied in school.
Yes.
And that eventually, though, he became a bully and just, like, very aggressive after his weight loss and his, when his appearance changed towards the end of high school, his attitude kind of just changed. And that's when, like, friends were kind of, like, turning away from him because they felt that he was a different person. So that was another thing. It has also come out that allegedly Bryan has suffered from serious migraines or visual snow syndrome. He even went on chat forums discussing, like, his frustration with it and wrote about feeling depressed and suicidal.
Yeah, and I even, on the topic of those chat forums, I even read that he had some posts talking about how he was suffering with depersonalization and derealization, and even said he had, I think I'm saying this right, it's delusions of grandeur, and which basically the depersonalization and derealization is feeling like you're out of your body or kind of feeling like you're observing yourself from up above, and things that are around you aren't real, they don't feel real, they don't feel like they're there. And then with the delusions of grandeur, you are like somebody other than who you truly are, so you have this false belief that you're somebody else. So that's definitely interesting because I'm wondering if he's going to try to use that like as an angle in court, or if he's going to try to plead insanity and say, well, I was struggling with this and I was experiencing this. Because if we go back to the affidavit, Dylan did say that she heard somebody in a male voice say, it's okay, I'm here to help you. So if he's thinking that he's somebody that he's not, is he going to try to use that and say, well, I thought I was there to help, or I thought this, or I don't know,
Yeah, like if all else fails, with the evidence, if they got him and he has to like say, okay, yeah, I did it, but this is why, and try to get a lesser sentence.
Yeah, and I mean, they have 6 months to figure out if they think they can get him off the hook, or if they say, hey, you know what, we don't have enough, like, you need to plead insanity because this is not going to work.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what they're going to do.
Yeah, I'm so curious which way they're going to go. But these are just some of the things that have come out, and I'm sure more about Bryan will continue to come out as we await this preliminary hearing. But unfortunately, we probably won't get much more information about the case in these 6 months while we wait for the next court appearance, because a gag order was issued barring attorneys and investigators from talking about the case.
Right. So I think anything we're going to get is if, something is accidentally leaked. I feel like sometimes, most of the time, there's like little things that will get leaked, but I really don't think we're going to get much for the next
I don't think
6 months, except when the search warrant gets released in March. I'm wondering though if they're going to be like extend it and not release it, because the hearing isn't until June, I think.
And they had said that the search warrant was not going to be released till March 1st, and that was before they even had a date set for the preliminary hearing.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're going to go back on that and be like, yeah, we can't release that until, after the hearing or during the hearing. But if it is released in March, then obviously we'll gather some things from there, because they did say they didn't want to release it because it could put law enforcement and, the victims' families and
they said it was like it could be a
risk.
threat to the public or something, which is interesting. I'm kind of curious.
And they even said like
about.
It could end the investigation prematurely, weirdly worded. Like what does that mean? So I'm wondering what's in that search warrant, what they found or what they didn't find. I don't know.
I'm so curious.
Yeah,
so now we just wait. So the defense now has the next few months to prepare to challenge the evidence against Bryan at the hearing in June. And at this upcoming hearing, both sides will present evidence, call witnesses, and the judge will then decide if there is enough probable cause to advance to district court.
Yeah, it's basically like a mock trial, like a trial without a jury. So you're going to hear, some of the evidence. You're going to get to hear some of the witnesses. I hope they have video of this. I know they said they don't live stream, so I'm hoping they record it and we're able to see it. But I'm worried that they might not. But I so far they have, so I'm hoping that they will.
Well, they haven't. I don't think they allowed live stream, but they allow recordings and then you can watch it back afterwards.
I don't know exactly how they do that, but I know they didn't. I know even we talked about Bryan and he was there and he said, they don't allow you to live tweet, they don't allow you to live stream, none of that. But there's a few news stations that air it afterwards. They're able to get it and air it afterwards.
So hopefully we'll at least just be able to see it, even though maybe not live, we'll be able to see it after the fact.
Yeah.
So the judge will decide if there's sufficient evidence to go to trial. If it goes to trial, then I'm sure that it will be a few more months before that trial actually begins. And of course, we'll definitely be covering, the trial, and we'll continue to update you as this case goes on, but unfortunately, we're probably not going to get much more until at least March.
Yeah, possibly bits and pieces in March. But
yeah, that's if they, give you details about what they found with the search warrant, of Bryan's apartment. But who knows if that'll be extended, because the preliminary hearing isn't until June. We don't know. But in the meantime, if there's any big updates, of course, we'll update you. But while we wait for more, we're going to continue to cover other cases in the upcoming weeks. We haven't really done too many other true crime cases because we've been so focused on this case. Yeah. A lot has, come out and happened in the last few months, so we've really just been focusing on this. So we are going to try to do more true crime cases, during this time where we're probably not going to get much more on, the Idaho case. So, stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for listening and for all your support. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week with a different case. And until then, stay safe and have a great weekend.